I'm Gary Bembridge. This is another of my cruising tips for travelers. I want to talk about 5 cruise lines you've probably never heard of, but really should consider in your future cruising plans. Starting with this one. Celestyal Cruises. Celestyal Cruises is a really interesting cruise line. It's a small independently owned cruise line. It operates out of Greece, so it's the one cruise line that's really home-based all year round out of Athens. They have 2 mid-sized ships at the time of recording. They have the Celestyal Olympia, which has 1,664 guests, and Celestyal Crystal, which has 1,200 guests. Celestyal really immerse you into the whole Greek experience. The onboard experience has a lot of Greek immersion. They really focus on the Greek destinations. They know them incredibly well. So it's a really Greek immersive destination. So it's a great cruise line if you want to go and explore Greece, the Greek islands, and that whole area of the world. It's largely all-inclusive, although of course you have extra costs, things like Wi-Fi and excursions, that kind of stuff. They really focus on a great cultural immersion in Greece. They have 3 key itineraries that they focus on year round. The real heart of their business is Greece, and particularly the Greek islands. And they offer really short cruises of a couple of nights, like 3 nights, up to the more classic 7 nights. They go to lots of really interesting islands, the big main ones that everyone knows, like Mykonos, Santorini, and they also go to more out of the way, less known ones. The other 2 key itineraries that they offer are the Eastern Mediterranean, so they go to places like Egypt, Cyprus, Israel, and Turkey. Then they also cruise the Adriatic, so they go to places like Venice, they'll go to Croatia, so they'll go to places like Dubrovnik. They also go to Montenegro and the beautiful city of Kotor. So Celestyal Cruises is a really great one to look at if you're thinking about a European cruise and you want to try something that really immerses you into Europe and Greece in particular. The second cruise line you may never have heard of is also a European cruise line, and it's called CroisiEurope. CroisiEurope is also independently owned. It's owned by the Schmitter family. It was created over 44 years ago by Mr. Gerard Schmitter. It's based in Strasbourg, and it is the longest and most established river cruising cruise line in Europe. They don't just do river cruising though, they also do increasingly, they're starting to expand out into more exotic river cruising and also into some ocean cruising as well. CroisiEurope is a value line, so you'll find really good value for money fares, and they have an enormous range of itineraries offering a French experience on board. So you'll find the food is very French influenced and French is spoken on board as well as English. You'll find lots of French passengers on board. So if you really want a really European experience, CroisiEurope is a great one to look at. They focus on a couple of areas. So as I mentioned, European river cruising is their main focus with an enormous fleet. Pretty much any river in Europe that you can cruise on, CroisiEurope will cruise on, and they sometimes design very specific ships to cruise on the harder to cruise rivers. The sort of rivers they cruise on is the Rhine, the Danube, the Seine, the Rhone, the Loire, the Douro, the Po, the Elbe, pretty much you name it, and you'll find a CroisiEurope on it. They also have more exotic river cruising, and they really focus on the Mekong, so Vietnam and Cambodia, and they also have ships in Africa, so you can go to Botswana and onto Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe, on the Zimbabwe-Zambia border, and you can also go and see the Victoria Falls as part of that. They also have European barge cruises. I've been on their barge cruises. It's a great experience as you travel along in pretty small barge boats which sail along the canals through France. It's a great experience. As I mentioned, they also do have more ocean experiences now, and there are 2 ships at the time of recording they have. They have the La Belle de l'Adriatique, which is 197 guests, and they mostly cruise around the sort of the Adriatic area, although in the winter period they will go a little bit further afield. The most recent ship to join the fleet is La Belle de Oceans. This they actually bought from Silversea Cruises. It was the Silversea Discoverer. That's joined the fleet. It's planned to sail in Canada and the St. Lawrence River area, and that has 128 guests. CroisiEurope, it's great value for money, really good European experience, and really good if you're particularly looking at river cruising and barging. The third cruise line you may not have heard of, but I really think you should hear of, is SeaDream Yacht Club. SeaDream Yacht Club is a really interesting line. It's a very upmarket line. It was Norwegian based and was created by the man who founded Seabourn Cruises originally, Atle Breinstadt. It was founded in 2001. They have 2 ships, or yachts as they would call them, SeaDream 1 and SeaDream 2. These small yacht type vessels have a marina at the back, so you can go out doing lots of water sports, and it's a very upmarket, luxurious experience. The ships only hold 112 guests. They have just over 90 crews, so it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. The SeaDream slogan is "It's yachting, not cruising," so they're really focusing on that kind of yacht type experience. It's very all-inclusive, very upmarket, high attention to detail. It's quite low-key, kind of relaxed, so that also ties into the whole yacht club experience. They basically focus on two regions. So in the summer period, they focus on the Mediterranean, going to lots of interesting little ports that you can't do on bigger ships. And then in the winter season, they head down to the Caribbean, which of course is a summer season in the Caribbean. And again, they'll go to lots of different islands, many islands that the big ships don't go to. The next cruise line, which is another cruise line that I've been on and really think is remarkable, is Gauguin. Gauguin is now part of the Ponant group, which is a French luxury cruise line. So that's maybe another cruise line you haven't heard of. Ponant is very upmarket, and they have lots of expedition cruises as well as more traditional cruising, very beautiful ships. Gauguin is a recent acquisition to them. Gauguin really focuses on the French Polynesian islands. So it's based out of Tahiti. It sails all year round from Tahiti. It will also go up as far as Fiji. They, at the time of recording, only have one ship, which is the Gauguin. That has 332 passengers. Again, like SeaDream, it has a marina at the back. It also has quite a low hull, so it's able to go around all the islands. So it's specifically designed for the islands, and it can go into lots of islands and places that bigger ships that cruise in that area can't do. Ponant is actually going to add some more ships to the fleet, which are due to come in over the next couple of years. These are going to be very high-tech ships using all the Ponant technology, so very environmentally friendly, and again designed to really operate in this area. Gauguin it's an upmarket experience. They really know the islands incredibly well, because that's all they do is sail around the islands. Their classic trip is either a 7-day trip or a 10-day trip, and as I mentioned, they sail all year round to all the beautiful islands. They also have their own private island, which is called Motu Mohana, and then also in Bora Bora they have their own private beach as well. It's a great and beautiful part of the world to go, and Gauguin are the real experts. You can cruise on other cruise lines around that area. They'll send their ships down part of the time, but if you really want an immersion in that area, Gauguin is the way to go. The next cruise line you might not have heard of, but definitely should have, is also a Norway-based cruise line, and it's called Hurtigruten. Now, Hurtigruten has two key parts to it. One of the parts is sailing up and down the whole coast of Norway, calling it over 30 ports. Hurtigruten has actually been doing this route for well over 125 years. They currently have 11 ships that sail up and down all year round, calling it all of these different ports. It's a classic, amazing trip where they'll call into all the little nooks and crannies and down the fjords. So you can go to a winter wonderland type cruise, or in the summer where of course you've got all beautiful weather and 24-hour sunlight, the midnight sun. In winter particularly, a lot of people go on that to see the northern lights. The classic trip is between Bergen in the south and Kirkenes in the north, which is way past the Arctic Circle. Hurtigruten is also a big player and a big leader in expedition cruising. They're particularly strong in Antarctica and the Arctic, but they also do things like the Northwest Passage, they do Alaska, they do Greenland, and then other parts of some of the ships will travel in more traditional cruises like around the UK or the Caribbean. On Hurtigruten, they really pride themselves about really focusing on expedition, wildlife, nature. So on most of the ships, even the Norway ships, they will have an expedition leader or an expedition team, and they will provide lots of talks and immersion into all aspects of the flora, the fauna, the wildlife of the destination that you're cruising in. It's a pretty upmarket line, and it's an amazing experience. That classic Norway experience is really quite remarkable. They also are very forward-thinking, like Norway is, in terms of sustainability and innovation. So a lot of their ships have lots of modern technology to try and make the whole cruising experience much more environmentally sound and friendly. Those are 5 lines you may not have heard of, but I really think you should think about, understand, and consider. I have loads more videos packed full of tips and advice about cruising and cruise lines, so why don't you watch another one of them right now.